My goodness.
Just keep standing.
If you bring the meeting to order, if you'll please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, look lovingly on this group gathered here. During this meeting, as we discuss and deliberate on issues of importance to this council, help us to be guided by your Spirit. May we be wise in our discernment, balanced in our judgment, fair in our decisions, and visionary in our planning. Though we may at times have differing views, may we listen to one another and be guided by our common goals. May we always be mindful of our words and actions, of what is best for our citizens and our community. We ask this in Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There you got it. All right.
Oh, so I shut up? It don't matter. Okay. Well, welcome to our November 15th meeting.
Sounds like it's this one.
Go ahead with roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Here.
Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Mr. Redding?
Here.
Mrs. Dosa?
Here.
Mr. George? Mr. Mueller?
Aye. Here. Sorry.
Mr. Young?
Here.
I'm here.
Okay, we have one absent, Mr. George.
I'm here.
Make a motion to excuse Mr. George.
Mr. Rennie has made a motion to excuse. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Young, seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. You have before you the minutes of the November, no. When was our last meeting? November 1st. Great, this is, okay. If you've had a few moments to look them over, is there any corrections that anybody seen?
Downside of not having these delivered.
Excuse me.
If nobody has any corrections, I would ask that we make a motion to adopt as printed.
Make a motion to adopt the minutes as printed from November 1st.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Miller has made a motion to adopt the minutes as printed. Mr. Redding has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Correspondence. I have no correspondence. There was a few things in our packet, but you all have a copy of that. Guest and special events. We have none. Public input. Anybody here who would like to address council, please come up to the podium. Mr. Horsley.
Okay. Just real quick, I'll make it brief.
Name and address.
Yes, it's Aaron Horsley. It's 7328 Maple Avenue. So for the honeysuckle removal project that I had mentioned last meeting, I truly was not expecting the outpouring of support that I had from the community. The night after the council meeting, I had people coming out of the woodworks offering support and help, Teakin Farm and other groups and private volunteers. So we went ahead and got that date set for December 3rd at 9 a.m. Going to have everybody meet at the Wetlands Park, get together and just kind of go over everything that we're going to be doing. I plan to also have a safety briefing just to make sure that everybody's working in a way that's going to keep everyone safe, since we are going to have power tools on the property. Let's see. I'm expecting around 12 to 15 volunteers. I've been speaking with different groups. I'm trying to get more volunteers if I can. Since I've reached my minimum, I'm not super concerned, but the more the merrier. If you know of anyone that might want to join, go ahead and let them know. They can bring power tools or hand tools if they like. I will have a limited number of gloves and safety goggles for people, but I can't promise that I'll have enough for everyone. So if you have some, bring those as well. I also spoke with the fire chief and scheduled for their new ambulance to be on property as well for at least the first 3 hours, just in case. So the wood chipper, I actually didn't find this out until later. The same one that I was going to be getting is actually the same one that the city uses on a regular basis, and I'm not quite sure what has happened. I've had a little bit of difficulty reaching him, so I'm going to keep trying that. Otherwise, I've been in talk with Justin from city maintenance, and he said that we can just kind of fit it, put the cut honeysuckle wherever we need to until they're able to get the wood chipper, and then we can schedule that another day to get it removed. Let's see. Excuse me. I'm also talking with Anthony from Teakin Farm and a few other groups. I actually met a couple that I got in connection with through the mayor to get replacement plants that are native or naturalized to the area to replace what's being removed. That way we don't just have open space, and I could have water runoff issues and other things, so we're working on that as well. Luckily, that issue is not as pressing, and we should be able to plan for that in the springtime. Yeah, I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have one. Have you decided on, are you gonna remove stumps, or are you going to use some other method?
Yeah, so I've spoken with about 5 or 6 different people that have a lot of knowledge and experience in this, and I've gotten about 8 different answers. But the best one that I've come to is we're just gonna cut the stumps to a manageable level. That way they're not a trip hazard for people walking, but we're gonna leave the stumps. That way we can apply Roundup basically with a sponge brush over top of the fresh cut. That way it'll kill it at the roots, and it'll minimize the chance of water suckers coming up and the plant basically restarting to grow.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else, questions?
All right,
Thank you very much, Aaron.
thank you.
Anybody else here who'd like to address council? I guess that's you, Jim. Okay. Committee reports, Business and Partnership and Alliance, Mr. Young.
I was not able to make the last meeting. Were you able to go?
I
Monday?
did go. We talked about Christmas tree lightings. I forgot to bring my notes from the meeting, too.
I meant to ask you earlier, sorry.
Yeah, I know we were sitting down there. I probably had them right in front of me. Talking about getting a banner across the street, I guess like we used to have across Hamilton Avenue. It's a good discussion. I introduced myself to them. I mean, that was pretty much the big things that were related to the city, so.
What's the banner gonna say? Because we have a
what-
banner from last year that we had up against Lake of the Woods.
Does
that we
anyone-
could probably hang.
Yeah, does anyone recall what it used to be in the past? Because I think the past couple years, maybe we haven't had anything, and I don't.
Last year we did, but like I said, it wasn't hanging up. It was on the fence
By
where
the
Lake of the Woods.
Yeah, so they have that same one, and they were kind of thinking it would be nicer to have
Yeah.
the one across Hamilton Avenue.
I can't remember what it used to say, though.
I don't either.
But looking into it, and possibly, maybe that could be the city's donation to the winter event that they have for the business association.
Did you find a tree?
I don't know if we're gonna do tree lighting this year, or if we're gonna push it till next
There's
year.
a beautiful tree here at the administration building for the school. It's perfect.
Yeah, that
It's
one,
this
then we
one.
thought about the one right here at the park,
Oh, at the park.
right up top here by the,
Mm-hmm.
because that kind of, there's unfortunately not much in town.
Yeah, there's
You know,
not.
it's the administration building, but it's kind of on the backside, but
Yeah.
kind of so is this, but I think people will more tend to come up this way
Come up
too.
to there.
Yeah, they hadn't settled on anything, and it was they were kind of asking my opinion, what the city would do, and I was kind of asking them the same thing, what they would prefer. So, I mean, I think we're
Right.
still kind of figuring out what would make sense, but it'd be fun to do, so.
It would
Yep.
be. I've always said that.
Are they planning Christmas in Mount Healthy?
Yeah, so they'll have, I think they've,
December 17th.
yeah, it's like typically they have the shark feeding.
Yeah.
I think someone's gonna do hot chocolate again. They're putting together the calendar. I'll share that with everyone, or maybe they'll send it to you.
Yep.
But yeah.
17th, is that what you?
Yes,
Yep. I think that was probably it.
that's it, yeah, okay,
Anything else, Mr. Young?
that's it.
Okay. Beautification, Denise.
No report. Probably not till spring.
Finance, Mr. Parsons.
We had a meeting prior to this meeting to go over the budget. We got through about half of it. I would like to call another meeting when convenient for the city manager, 28th or 29th of November, Monday or Tuesday.
Let's see, 28th, either would be fine with me.
Either one, okay.
Yeah, I'll make it work.
28th at 5 o'clock. And you can make the changes that we've discussed, and we'll, whatever you think is necessary for the expenses that we didn't get to, get that stuff back out to us, and we can discuss any further changes at that time.
So November 28th,
28th
Monday,
at 5
5 p.m.
o'clock.
Monday, okay.
Got it. Works for me.
That's all I have for
Okay.
now. That's all I have.
Thank you. Parks, Ms. Lingo.
No report.
Safety and Streets, Mr. Redding.
Just a couple of things. I'm assuming everybody got Chief DeMassi's report on the CALIA certification? Great. There's you can actually sign up to be a part of this. I'm not going to repeat the whole letter, but if there's any interest in doing that, so I think they'll let the chief know, and keep your comments to 5 minutes at the max. Also, unfortunately, there was a shooting incident down at Mount Healthy Hilltop, and it's currently under investigation, and there's going to be a meeting tomorrow morning at 10:30, and we'll find out more information about that. So those are the two big safety topics. Streets, they're pouring curbing on Compton Road, poured a bunch today on the west side and poured some yesterday, and so they continue to work on it. In talking with Scott, we're not sure if they're going to be able to get the blacktop down. Obviously, it's not looking very good right now, so to have the street, grind and overlaid and some full depth repairs, and then at least a full one coat of blacktop by the end of, by the time winter sets in, so that might be pushed off till spring. So Hamilton Avenue, though, looks great. My only question on that is that between the curb and the roadway, it wasn't sealed, so I'm going to follow up with Jason on that. There was no tar sealing between there, so I don't know if they're going to come back and do it, or if that's something they're not doing, so I'll follow up with Jason on that.
They're working on sewer lids yesterday, coming through and doing some of that, 'cause I know some of those gotta be put the risers on.
Yeah,
so it
yes.
Goes up.
Yeah,
My question would be, what about like all the gravel that's in the road, like on the side? Do they come back and do that? And like sidewalks are a mess.
Yeah, I know, I did notice, and there was a big chunk of blacktop
Right.
laying up off Hamilton Avenue, up down by Speedway, I think it
Yeah,
was.
there's some down
Yeah.
there. I got some up by me and
Yep.
kind
So
of just all along.
I'll also follow up with Jason on that, just to make sure that it's wrapped up. But I would imagine they would do that.
I would, yeah, okay.
So that is all I have.
They did make an arrow at Madison coming north, that it's a right turn only.
I noticed that
Yes.
coming down, I'm like,
Is,
oh.
is the street department gonna put up a sign?
I will check on that. We did talk about that, and I thought,
You're gonna have to have some notification that you're coming up to
so
a.
with all that discussion we had, I think there should be a solid white line. We also discussed that, I believe, when we were discussing not using the curb lanes as actually driving lanes, right? Once you get to Madison and all the way down to, was it Hastings or Adams? So, Hastings, I think. So, yeah, I'll double check on that,
Yeah,
too.
they've got the parking spots lined, but yeah, they don't have that, like you're saying, that solid white line.
Line, yeah.
So
So, and then at the right turn lane, there is a sign up far, but no one ever sees it. I didn't see it all the years I've lived here.
Yeah.
But at the post, at the street light, you know, where the street light is,
Yes.
is that where you're talking about putting a sign?
Is there one that further
There's-
down the street?
There is one further down the street. It's been there for,
Never noticed it
forever,
either.
for years, yeah.
Yep.
But no one's ever seen it.
Oh, I never saw
I've
it.
never seen it.
It's been
Yeah.
there for a long time.
Yep.
They probably need a bigger one, and they probably need one
That
of
might
them.
be
Neon.
something that we need to hang
those
over
traffic
the-
light, yeah.
that might be hung over. So, yeah, I will get with Jason. I'll be up here tomorrow, so I'll have a chance to talk to
That's-
him about that.
Probably gonna be right turn, except for Metro buses. Because they stop,
Oh,
I would
yeah.
imagine that's,
Right.
yeah, the next block up would be.
they
there.
stop right up there by the red
Yes.
Red line.
Yeah, there's a pad there for them, so.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, other than that, that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions yet for Mr. Redding? Okay, moving on. Schools, Mr. George is not here. Library, Ms. Dosa.
Nothing new to report.
Okay. Urban Tree, Denise.
Nothing new.
We Thrive, Mr. Mueller.
I don't really have anything new to report. Carla canceled on us from Artworks for the meeting. The mayor has a few other things to elaborate on some grants and that stuff, but other than that, nothing really special to report.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Then we'll move on to the mayor's report, Mr. Wolf.
The first thing we have, Trinity wanted me to share that it's this Sunday, so it's kind of short notice, but they are having a Surviving the Holidays seminar for individuals who are grieving. So I didn't know if we could post this on the bulletin board, maybe. So this is going on this Sunday at 1:30. I just heard about it tonight. For those entering the holidays that are grieving losing someone close. Additionally, with We Thrive, we did apply for that EO grant, and I forget what EO stands for, and I can't even find it in the paperwork for it, but it's for community resiliency. One of the issues we've identified with some of the job training programs that we have, both at the school and both at Teakin Farm, is lack of transportation. And another issue that, as we see in police reports, you know, we have issues with speeding, we have issues with all kinds of traffic problems. One thing that's happening is we're finding more and more people are waiting till they're 18 to get their driver's license because they don't have to take driver's ed at that point, which long-term we know leads to more issues. It's more expensive to get insurance. People that don't take driver's ed are more likely to have accidents, have more points on the record, et cetera. So we are going to use this money to fund driver's ed programs. We don't have the details nailed down yet, and it is only, you know, $3,700, so it's not going to fully fund a lot of driver's ed programs. So we're going to figure out the details of it, but that has been passed on to Hamilton County Public Health. The other good side of that is there is a bucket of money that's supposed to go to the different We Thrive communities for community resilience programs. A bunch of them have not yet applied for it, and it's being assumed that a lot of them won't be at this point. So if they don't, that'll free up more money that could come to us since we applied. So that's something we're gonna be working on moving forward, and we'll have information about that once the details are ironed out and once the funding is available. But that, we should have some details first quarter of the year on how people can sign up for that. And it could be helpful as we're recruiting lifeguards. We've had an issue getting lifeguards. If you can get
Transportation.
discount off driver's ed to come be a lifeguard, right, and we pay for your certification, those are some benefits we could advertise. So we'll talk about that more as we get all the details ironed out. Yep.
I do have one question, Jamie. Sorry, Ross. As far as lifeguards go, is Diane Kay going to be involved in certification or, okay, so she's going to offer classes. Has there been a date for those classes?
I don't think so yet.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's
All
still
right.
very early. I know John just reached out to me so that I could share contacts with him for different schools so that he can advertise
okay,
when we are posting jobs. But I think he's just now going through that process of figuring out who to reach out to, et cetera.
okay.
Still in the planning stages.
Yeah, 'cause we have some 15, 16-year-olds that live in the area close to us that may be interested, so that would be
We'll need them.
excellent.
And I do think that's something, I'll just add that to my report, because I don't know if we've publicly said it at a meeting, that we are bringing the pool back in-house, that we used Cincinnati Pool Management for 2 years now, is that right, or 3?
3, but
3, but COVID killed
Right.
it. And last year, as we know, we weren't able to staff the pool or even keep it open for multiple days a week, which led to issues. So we are going to try to bring it back in-house. And that's part of what you will see in the budget when it comes up for approval. There will be a shift away from Cincinnati Pool Management trying to bring it back. And there are other things, you know, I used to have all kinds of events at the pool that we weren't able to do when we privatized,
Movies and
because they used to be city employees, and when they became Cincinnati Management employees, they weren't comfortable with the liability for like the overnight lock-in, camp-out things, and some other events. We used to use lifeguards for bingo, et cetera. So it opens up some more opportunities for the park, bringing it back in-house. So you'll hear more details about that coming out, but Scott and Mel have convinced John Peters to come back as the consultant. He won't be an employee, but they're gonna pay him to consult to help bring it back up in operation under the city, so.
He's
that is
excited to do it too, so
Yeah.
it's kind of nice.
And Diane, so a bunch of old names coming back to help out, so let's hope it works.
Yes.
Keep your fingers crossed. We need the pool open. And then just the last thing, I do want to kind of celebrate some success. A lot of you were on council when We Thrive first started, and the first major project was bringing youth sports back to the park, and North Hills United was part of that. And I really think they're the best example, because it took the city and it took the nonprofit We Thrive group and Interact for Health to help them get started. And now we really have nothing to do with them other than letting them use our fields. They've figured out, they're on their own. They've been up and running. It doesn't take really our resources anymore, other than cutting grass and letting them use the fields. And this year, they had one of their teams finish first in the region, and the other team finished second in the region, and they both made the state tournament. One was runner-up, and the other one made it to the semifinals. So
That's great.
it's been some real success, and those are my favorite kind of programs. We get them up and running, and then they go on their own, and they're successful, and we don't have to micromanage. So I love celebrating any success they have. So congrats to those kids. And that's the end of my report. I was going to talk about Christmas in Mount Healthy, but we did that, so, great.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions yet? Okay. Moving on to the city manager's report, Mr. Bauer.
Yeah, I've just got a couple little things. See, Joe already kind of mentioned the Heat Event Center, so that is tomorrow at 10:30. There's a representative, it sounds like it's not from the ownership group, but from the management company will be here tomorrow at 10:30 to kind of go over the incident and ways to help keep it from happening. It sounds like the event that went on, they've actually got another one scheduled for not this weekend, but the following weekend. So we want to get on top of it. And Chief and one of our sergeants will be there tomorrow. And
You're talking about the boxing thing down
Yep,
there?
yep,
Okay.
yep. And Joe will be there tomorrow, so we'll discuss that tomorrow morning.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that the lady wrestling everybody kept asking me about at work?
Can I
I'm
just
like, what?
Real quick, Scott and the chief and I had a quick meeting. We had a meeting day, discussed several things, but one of the things we discussed this morning, we all know, and I want to make sure this is recorded for a meeting, rentals are really, really hard for us to regulate. You know, they don't have a liquor license. So it's not like we can go and contest their liquor license. You know, if there was a boxing thing going on at Vince's or at Take a Shot or anywhere else and these things got out of hand, we can go after their liquor license. With an event center, we're limited in what we can do. And that's the real frustration with these rental halls. We don't know what they're doing. They can rent it out to somebody who's a promoter and they have their own party. They can have a boxing. So we're trying to figure out how to deal with these, which we have. You know, we've passed some legislation to change. But one of the things that I am looking into for the chief is what the rules are for boxing, about the regulatory boards for these events. So I know that in some states there are regulatory events where they have to have a medic on
Yes.
hand, et cetera. So we are looking into this to see if we can attack it from that approach as well. I have a friend who's on the board of Cincinnati Golden Gloves, so I've reached out to him, and we're gonna try to figure out that process.
That's good.
figure out how we can attack this from multiple angles. Because honestly, rental hall issues are a big deal in our town, and we know that, and not just our town, all over the
Yeah.
place. There's a similar incident on Coleraine. We're not quite sure how to attack it, other than just respond to every individual event, and that's not sustainable. So, we'll see. There was also, they called them strippers. I believe they were clothed, somewhat clothed. The videos we've seen. But there's regulations with that. Again, this isn't technically an adult-oriented business. It's a rental hall. If somebody rents out the Eagles Hall for a bachelor party, that's not an adult-oriented business. That's a rental hall. So it's much more complicated. I've seen several comments and posts on social media that, why aren't they shutting this place down? Why aren't they doing this? Property owners have a lot of rights, and it's very challenging to do this and figure out what we can regulate. So I just want you to know we are working multiple angles on this. The chief is, Scott is, I'm trying to figure out all these other athletic regulations, et cetera, see what we can do. So I don't want anybody to think that we're not trying to address this. We are.
And I know in 2020, I don't recall it passing, and I only had a few minutes to try to scan through the ordinances, but it's something that Chief had presented me with, and I talked to Bill Knight about it, about having like parade and special event permitting. So I have the ordinance, but I don't know that we ever passed it. So we've put together something that I think it's 20, if it's more than 25 people, there's certain criteria you have to meet to even hold the event. So I will go over that more and see if, I mean, it might already be in a final product, and I can at least, pass it along to everyone, see if it's something that we want to pass, but maybe that could help, regulate some of this stuff. But it was something that could affect, like homecoming parades, and, again, it was something we were doing during COVID, and I don't think we ever actually got around to passing it, so it could potentially impact something like this.
I honestly, I do vaguely remember that in a discussion around an ordinance, but I don't know if we passed it or, yeah.
I believe we tabled it because
tabled
it
it
was
for-
too overreaching.
Okay.
It would have affected the nonprofits and schools and,
Okay.
and for example, if Vince has had a band in the back one night.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
25
it's not an
people's
issue.
pretty low
Fibonacci has live
threshold.
music,
Sure,
every
yeah.
week.
Yep.
We thought, the farmer's market, another example.
Yeah.
The problem, again, we can't just go after one business and create a law for them.
No,
It
absolutely.
has to affect everybody, so
Yeah, we
doing
don't,
that is challenging.
we don't even know if they were selling tickets down there, or if there was alcohol, who provided it. I know there was smoking. Well, it looked like there was smoking.
Yeah.
So,
Which again, a
Yep.
private event is existing under very different regulations as far as
absolutely.
smoking
Yep.
indoors and
They're allowed.
drinking, et cetera, than if they were a business running a boxing
yep.
match.
But if it's a private
Private
event, but they're charging admission for the public, that is no longer a private event.
Unless their sign says suggested donation.
Yeah.
Just saying,
Ways around it.
there's,
Yeah.
people are
There's ways
smart.
around it.
People are smart.
Yeah.
I think the concern I saw with the video was everybody trying to get out one door.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was a lot of people in
Fire
there
issue
getting
there.
out, so
That
I
was
think
a
there's a
fire
fire
hazard.
issue there too. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's a second exit, I don't know, that building, but I think that's something that needs to be looked into.
Yep.
It's a big area.
That was brought up today as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of angles to go after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, so I'll dust off that ordinance and kind of see, we can revisit it, and maybe there's some tweaks we can make to it, and look at all the other angles too. I know eventually Chief Lawson will be brought into it, looking at inspecting some of these businesses. I mean, obviously the issue is if they've already had the event and it goes off, what can you do after everything's happened? It's, trying to get ahead of some of these things will be the challenge, but we'll explore every avenue. Were there any other questions related to that? Let's see, Steve was getting, the new ambulance is here. It's totally white except for the back of it, so today he took it to get it detailed, so it's getting all the paint and everything put on it. He's saying hopefully before Thanksgiving it will be fully put, officially put into service. Let's see. I gave the green light for the organization that's gonna help us do the police chief search. With me being on vacation last week, it sounds like the person I'm dealing with is on vacation this week, but they'll help put together the job description, post everything online, help us kind of sort through all the applications, stuff like that. So have given the thumbs up at least for the company to kind of go forward with those initial steps. So it is in the works. I think that's all I have. Unless there's any questions.
Questions, council? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Finance Director, Melanie Branditz.
I just have October month-end reports were on your desk. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to ordinances and resolutions. We have a first reading of an ordinance. Ordinance number 22-1999. An ordinance assessing cost of the removal of high grass and weeds and declaring an emergency.
See, I forgot to bring up my copy. I'm sure it's sitting on my desk, but I had gone through these addresses. There's one of them that had, I think this is the third time this year that we've mowed the grass for them. So I'll try to look into a few of these and see what the deal is with the frequent flyers. But most of them seem like it at least was the first time this year that we had mowed them. So
Is that lot vacant? That was
a lot of these are residences.
the third time, or is it a rental?
That one in particular, I believe, was just a normal residence.
Okay.
I just kind of looked at the address real quick. I don't
Okay,
know.
that's
I don't know if it's vacant, but
Yeah.
it's a normal looking residence. So.
Okay.
What is the, for Harrison?
So that's behind the Chinese restaurant, right?
Okay.
So that one was just,
Oh.
I forget who owns it, but it was just completely overgrown.
Corn.
So if you drive by it, you can actually see through it now and see the ground.
So that's like lot number 4, not address 4.
It is the address.
Address,
for- I
okay.
don't know how it got that address, but that's the real official
All right.
address. But it's a vacant lot with just trees surrounding it. It just had honeysuckle and everything overgrowing and litter and trash and, yeah.
Okay.
Just a little side note, the city has tried to buy that property multiple times.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which
The-
one?
The
That
one
4
on Harrison,
Avenue.
number 4 Harrison.
All right.
Behind the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Ah,
I thought we actually owned it, but I guess we don't, huh?
No, I think
There used to be that little white house there years ago.
years and years ago, yeah.
So if you're going to check on whether some of these are accurate or not, do you want just a first reading?
Oh, I mean, you're, feel free to pass it, but I was just saying, I mean, the one that has 3 will probably pop up again by the end of the year, maybe. I don't know. Well, maybe, I guess with it being so late in the year, maybe we won't have to mow it again, but I was just saying, I will double check to see some of these why they've been frequent flyers if there's a special circumstance, but I mean, it's all, everything here is in order. I mean, you can pass it in one if you would like.
What is your wish, council?
I make a motion to suspend the 2 reading rule.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Parsons has made a motion to suspend. Mr. Redding has seconded. Any other questions or comments yet? And all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Nope, it's got to be a roll call.
Roll call.
Yes, you're right, I'm sorry.
Mrs.
Roll
Ling-
call on the suspension then.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. Mueller?
aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
6-0.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the 2 reading rule has been suspended.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance number 22-1999.
I'll second.
Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt. Mr. Mueller has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. Mueller?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
By a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 22-1999 is adopted. That's all the ordinances and resolutions we have. Old Business Council. New business.
Unfortunately, my resignation, so I'll read this off. Mayor Wolf, President of Council Bittner, members of City Council, I'll be moving out of the city of Mount Healthy in the near future, so I'm resigning my council at large position on City Council effective at midnight on November 15th, 2022. Respectfully, Daniel Mueller. So that'll
thank
be
you.
tonight.
Sorry to see you go.
Yes, we will miss
Yeah.
you.
I appreciate everybody.
Thank you for your service. Thank you
Yeah.
for your service.
Thanks for having me.
Stan?
Well, it's nice to
Been
get to
very
know you.
welcoming.
Nice to get to know you. My
Yeah.
neighbor for years, we never really knew each other.
I know, yeah.
We're all busy working. So,
So, it's been great. I've learned a lot, and I appreciate everybody, so.
Kids went to preschool together
Thank
for
you.
2 years. No, you moved around the corner.
Phil said we got a task ahead of us then.
That's terrible.
Yep.
That's all right. Know each other now.
That's right. Just because you're moving.
Anything else?
No other new business, council.
One other thing, the Finance Committee, looking at the budget, has brought up a recommendation that the elected officials freeze their pay for next year and not take an increase. That'd be council, president of council, and the mayor. It's about $33 a month increase since we have to go with CPIU, which is 8.7%. We did not pass the levy. We're asking some of the other employees to not take a very large increase, so I think it would be appropriate. And I wonder if anybody has any comments?
I agree.
I mean, if I was staying, I would gladly accept less, but. I mean, you only have so much money to work with, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You're gonna have to, it's
We
gonna have
need-
to come from somewhere, so.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
Right.
We need additional firemen, we need additional police.
right.
We're hiring more people on the street crews.
I just thought it was interesting. Everything else passed except ours.
Don't be disheartened, we will try again. We just have
Oh,
to
yeah.
do better getting the word out. It's happened before, right, Ron?
Yes, it has.
So I think we need to pass this with a motion,
Well,
because it's in the city charter.
so that was gonna be my question is, do we need an ordinance because we set it to the CPI and I'm not sure if we're gonna need an ordinance or not, or something to that
Well, we're not
effect to do it.
changing the law in this matter. We get the finances straightened out,
Yeah.
we'll go back to it.
Yeah,
So we just need a motion to,
I'll see if I can find that in the charter. I mean, we
Got
can
it right
certainly
here.
do a motion next
He's got it
meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I don't have the charter with me. I wanna make, okay.
It's well worn. Read this thing, as you can tell.
I've got fresh ones in my office. if
That's
you
all
want.
right. Then
Keep
people
that
won't
one.
think I don't read it. My coffee enjoys this.
Jamie.
It's the only way I can stay awake reading it.
I'm having eye surgery that day.
For the first charter council. According to this rules. Okay, so, no, it says ordinance presently in force establishing salaries shall remain in effect for the first charter council and therefore be established by council according to its rules of organization. So we can freeze ours.
Read that part again by ordinance, I just,
Ordinances presently in force establishing salaries shall remain in effect for the first charter council
okay,
and thereafter be established by council according to its rules of organization.
okay.
So at this point, it's established by council according to our rules of organization. So we then need to look at our rules of organization, which I'm pretty sure we can just freeze it,
without changing the ordinance.
yes.
And I wanna just, the mayor has also, volunteered to do that too, so.
Right,
freeze the
all the
salary, so-
elected officials.
Yeah, so,
It would save us about $5,000 next year
Yep.
in total. So we could use that for something.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll get an ordinance for the next meeting.
if it's required.
If it's required. And, by the way, I most likely won't be at the next meeting. I have some eye surgery that day and don't think I'll see my way here.
I can pick you up.
Okay, any other new business, council?
Make a motion to adjourn, please.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Stoss has second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.